Hello, everyone. My name is Igor Tomych, and today I would like to host the second episode of FintechGarden, and my co-host Dumitru Condrea today with me, and we would like to discuss the blueprints in fintech regulations as the continuing the discussion from the previous time. So thank you everyone for joining, and let me give a word to Dumitru.
Hello, everyone. Yes, nice to see you all here for the second time for our second episode. And let me introduce our co-host Igor Tomych. Yeah, and let's start the discussion because today's topic is quite crucial and important because besides the fact that you have a nice idea, you have a good, strong technology stack. If you want a fintech product, you need to dive into the regulations and to have a good knowledge and understanding what you need to do. Otherwise, you can be trapped in a very bad situation sometimes.
Okay, that's fair. Let me maybe recap a little bit what we discussed last time. So we started, and it's a new initiative for us, and we would like to give an overview for our audience how you are doing and what you need to know for do the fintech project. And last time we discussed a little bit about the business models, the technical teams, all the challenges, but a huge topic is regulations and compliance, and they all depend on the specific jurisdiction. It means country and how you are dealing with the regulator, if some exist in this specific region. And today we would like to dedicate our whole discussion to the regulation cases, how it has been for other projects, and what you need to know if you are going to start your own project, which requires some kind of regulations for the business activity. And maybe in this case, Dmitry, let's start with the question: if you are going to aim for a customer market like B2C, and let's say that you would like to start with a specific region, what do you need to know as a business owner, or what you need to think of to start this process for finding out if you need to be compliant with the regulation, and if so, what are the next steps?
Well, it's quite hard to answer to this question just from in one sentence because everything depends on jurisdictions.
Mhm.
Well, if we are speaking about European Union, for example, then it's one situation. If we are speaking about United Kingdom, it's totally different. Sometimes even the same terms in European Union means one thing, in United Kingdom can mean a different thing. Uh, and for example, North America, it's absolutely total different story. So first of all, you have to find and define a good jurisdiction for your company, a jurisdiction which is very loyal to your business, a jurisdiction that is very have a very clear and understandable rules. Otherwise, you'll get a mess. Um, and the jurisdiction that attract investors in fintech, for example. In European Union, there exist several such kind of jurisdictions, but this is just a first path, a first step for solving the issue. Because even if you have a good jurisdiction, you have a company registered already, you have investments, you have a strong technology stack, you want to work. But in the moment when you'll try or you'll start to onboard customers from another countries, you can face some other challenges like passportization, or sometimes some countries can request a specific license issued by that country for your business. So you also have to check this part also too. It's very important to have in your team, or at least as an advisor, a very good a legal person who will tell you what to do better. And second person, but also very important, and they are basically legal, and this person is on the same level, is a compliance manager. A manager or an expert that will help you to build a sustainable relationship with regulator/regulators. A manager who will define you the rules, define your internal rules and external rules. We have to remember the fact that exist beside the regulations from the national banks or national regulators, exist regulations from PCI DSS or other kind of regulations, security regulations, that you have to fulfill, and you have a mandate to cover all of them. So it's a huge thing. So first you select a good jurisdiction. Second, you think about how to extrapolate your activities and onboard customers from different regions, not only the region where you're located or your company is registered. And third, and not third, but everything I said is englobed in the idea to have a legal partner and a good compliance partner in your team or beside you, like somewhere close.
Okay, okay. It totally makes sense. And maybe my point of view, I'm coming to this topic maybe from more technology approach, because usually I'm playing the technical roles in those
Mhm.
projects. And what I can hear, it actually adapts to my experience. And additional stuff, like we can go and discuss certain examples that we've seen on the market or what we've been participating in. But from my experience, all the stories and all the successful stories, they start with the people. Because people are doing business, but not vice versa. And what I can add, like, it's really important to properly build the team structure and org structure, especially with the legal and compliance. Usually it's two different roles within the specific team. And actually it combines and balance all together, because in one hand, you need to be compliant as a legal, as a business, as a jurisdiction, as a country where your business is started and operates, but another one to be compliant with the certain regulations, because sometimes the country of doing business or even customers, they might come from another country. That's why you need to have a compliance officer. That's someone who will make sure that your business processes are allowing to fulfill all the regulator needs and properly operate at the business. So it's really good. And I seen like the best team who are effective and good with innovations and good with keeping the company safe and sound is actually the good balanced team between those two roles. And sometimes it even includes the risk managers. With a larger business, there is another role like a risk chief officer who is kind of maybe combining or adding up to this team. So that's my point of view. And another one, maybe level to make it more easier to digest our information. Like in this case, let maybe split the topic into two different case or scenarios for the regulations is between B2C and B2B businesses. Because if we go into bulk up with the B2B businesses, it's going to be not just one
Mhm.
discussion. It will take us a lot of hours. But let's simplify with the B2C licenses with European Union. Like if we discuss this case, and we have a lot of successful cases and projects operating as B2C business, they all well known to our listeners. So if we aiming for this process, like maybe my next question will be, Dmitry, what do you think, what is the best location, or what is the best approach to open a neobank or a digital bank, which is aiming like for pan-European operations in B2C market? How would you approach this nowadays in Europe?
Tricky question, because if I'll
Yeah.
tell you that one jurisdiction is better than another, we can get some hate comments here. So I'll avoid telling you jurisdictions
Okay.
which jurisdiction is better. Um, you mentioned that we have to start with a good team.
Yeah.
Not always. I will agree partially with you. Good business starts with a good idea. And if you're self-sufficient, like a business owner, like an idea holder, you can invite other people and adapt their approaches, visions to what you need and what you want. But
Mhm.
yeah, this is separate topic. I heard you said this and like, okay, no, I have another comment here. But anyways,
Okay.
so when you have a business idea, you have a business vision,
Yeah.
you go and search not blindly. Well, okay, I want to, I don't know, open B2C accounts, IBAN accounts for simple customers, provide some kind of simple um, e-accounting, electronic accounts, and people have a possibility to transfer money from one account to another, from one country to another, or locally, regionally. Uh, you don't need sometimes for this, you don't need a banking license, for sure. So sometimes you have to go and dig into different countries and different regulations, because one country can have, it'll be sufficient to have a more simple or smaller license, a simple license. Let's call it like a simple license. To have a more simple license, but it will allow you to cover all these business activities and business model you want to have. And then using this, you can passportize this license to jurisdictions where licensing is much harder to get and the process is much harder to pass. This can be a small workaround. It doesn't mean that, for example, if you'll transfer your license, passport your license from, I don't know, one country in Eastern Europe to one country in Western Europe, and in Eastern Europe, the license you get was quite easy. It doesn't mean that in Western European country, it will be also easy to passportize. No, you'll face with possibly the same issues like you could face obtaining a full license at the beginning in that Western European country. But it'll give you at least the possibility to start the activities, to run some tests on the market, and then to gather maybe some funds on your bank account that will give you a possibility to move to another country. So I would honestly recommend to go and check the regulations and licensing from different countries. You even can start this using internet without a good, strong legal advisor. There are a lot of tools right now that can consolidate, aggregate information in just a second from different websites in one single page. And you can run some questions there and you can find answers. It's a first step and it's a logical step. When you have two free cases or two free scenarios, you can now then go and ask people around you who are in the same business if they're running their operations for that country or another country. Check the information you received, and then go and start to run the company there. So jurisdiction is important, not only because of I don't know, they are open to investors or they are open to fintech companies. But also jurisdiction is important because sometimes licensing, but maybe they're super open, but the licensing procedures are quite heavy regulated.
Or different.
Or different. We have to remember another thing. Well, exists PSD2. That's universal for European Union, and not only a universal applied legal legislative structure, not structure, but legislative book. Yeah. And it's applied everywhere in Europe. Yes, in European Union. But each country has the possibility, because each country of the European Union has full sovereignty and autonomy to do whatever they want. Of course, they have to be complied. They have to pass the compliance. So sometimes, if, for example, in one country, I faced this situation. So, for example, in one country, they just took the PSD2, they copy pasted, changed a little bit the names of the terms inside the legislation. But in another country, they just took their old legislation that was before before they joined the European Union, and they just adapted it somehow to PSD2. But the logic is quite old one, or the logic is totally different, and you have to be aware of this. So here it is super tricky. We have examples, for example, of I think, okay, this is not because they paid us. So if they want to pay us, guys, hello, we are ready to receive money for our podcast if you want to be our sponsor. But the case of Yetoro, for example, they had an issue with Italian regulators. So they were super popular already. They opened a lot of trading accounts for a lot of people in European Union, including those who are residents of Italy. And then Italian regulator came to them and said, like, no, guys, wait a second. You have to obtain our own license for this. You have to pass our own internal regulations, and they showed them, they tried them to try to argument, they came with arguments like where we had all the licensing, we are European Union legislation allows us to work in Italy on the cases we have. But regulator in Italy decided totally different thing, and they were in a situation to take this. So sometimes, even if you are super sure that you can work in a specific jurisdiction, sometimes you have to check it. But once again, if Yatora wants to sponsor us, we are happy to receive the sponsorship.
Okay, great comment. And maybe in this case, like I will help a little bit to our podcaster listeners. Like you mentioned two processes, licensing and passportization. So what does it really mean for the fintech? Like what is the difference? If I'm the new founder, what I should know about those two processes to distinguish them and make sure that I can properly understand like what is the origin country when I'm licensing and what I do for passportization.
Igor, when you're doing a passport for yourself, when you want to travel,
yeah.
without the need of travel, you can use your own ID card. So the same thing here. License is the ID card that's sufficient in your country to exist to run the business. Passport or passportization process is for you to relocate or scale your business in other countries. It's good that we are living in European Union, and in European Union exists this mechanism of passportization. Thank you very much to those guys who invented, wrote, and approved the PSD2. We have a mechanism of doing this very, very easy in comparison with the situation when you want to achieve, you need to achieve the passport for each country not passport, license for each country you want to scale the business in. You remember in old times, like maybe 100 years ago, where we're not alive at that moment, but 100 years ago, for each trip you had, you needed to receive a specific passport, and that passport was a field where it was written like, it's valid, this passport of, I don't know, Greece or Italy is valid for travel to, and there was a small list of countries where this passport was valid for. Right now, we have passport that we can travel all around the world. You have visa regimes, no, without visa regime, and so on. The same thing is here. First step is licensing in your own country or in the jurisdiction you selected. You receive a license. For example, not throwing a stone in, or not blaming other regulators, but I'll give an example. If you go to the website of Lithuanian regulator, as an example, they created a very absolutely unique and nice flow, a customer flow. So you know specific which step you need to do for obtaining a license. Which are the fees, what kind of regulations you have to have on your side, and so on. You're receiving this regulation, this licensing, and then you specifically can start the passportization process, which takes sometimes up to a year, even more. Usually it's like 3-6 months, but it can take really much more, depends on the country, and depends what kind of a team you have around you and resources you have in your pocket and in your calendar. Then you can start the passportization process right away if your business model and business plan is mentioning this. Or you can stay, for example, in one jurisdiction, test your flow, try to onboard some new customers, achieve some results, and then you can expand it to other countries. So basically, this is the difference between licensing and passportizations. Passportization in itself, it's a license, but it's more like accreditation. But your license in your jurisdiction, original jurisdiction, is equal to the license in the jurisdiction you're scaling your business.
Okay, it makes a lot of sense. And I think like another practical angle, we can learn how other big companies or startups are doing this in the European market. Like everyone is aware about Revolut. And they initially started in United Kingdom with the MEI license. And then they did quite a bold move because they moved to European Union. and they, if I remember correctly, they started with the MEI license in the European Union. So in this case,
Yes.
they didn't passport within the European Union due to the Brexit, but they kind of started to operate with the two different licenses within two different regions. And the idea why I'm bringing this like a discussion, because in this case, they started to license in a specific region, if I'm not mistaken, Estonia, and then started to serve, or like you can correct me,
Lithuania. It was
Lithuania.
Lithuania.
Okay, Lithuania. Okay, my bad. But they didn't achieve the license in all the regions in European countries because it will be quite a lot of work to go to each country, set up the business entity, then set up the business model, talk with the regulator, and get the license. What they did, they penetrated the market, the European market, with one specific country, which was, I think, more feasible for them to acquire the AMI license. And with Lithuania, then passport, they licensed with the other regions and started serving clients in those regions without like a bulky process of getting the full license in the specific region.
Uh, yes and no. For example, currently, they closed a very big a big case with Romania. Um, Revolut is very popular in Romania, and Romanian regulator and the fiscal authorities get alarmed a little bit because it's quite hard to control Romanian, so control the flow specifically in
Mm-hmm.
euros.
Mm-hmm.
If people are, running euros between Lithuanian accounts, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
accounts with IBAN of Lithuania,
Yeah.
and they closed the deal right now. Customers received a lot of messages like, "Hey, we starting from a specific date, you'll have a new IBANs, Romanian IBANs, and so on." Sometimes, so Revolut is a little bit different. When they were small, nobody paid attention. First, second, we have to remember that regulators and the government and the state are all the time behind the business, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of reasons why, but when they understood what's happening, they understood that some people can use some platforms for, I don't know, some suspicious transactions, activities, or it's very hard to find if a specific person, a resident of a specific country, have some money somewhere in, I don't know, a Swiss bank account or in a Belgium account or a Lithuanian account. It's quite hard to put taxes on them, and so a lot of things can come. So why I'm telling you this? Because sometimes regulators can use the authority and the state mechanism just to come and to ask you to do some additional work regarding regulations in that specific country. Not because this is what you are doing is prohibited, not because what you are doing is illegal. No, everything is legal. But if you want to run the business in our yard, you have to add some more information about you. You have to give us a possibility to control you. Otherwise, you will be in a banned list, a sanction list, and your product will not be able to work in our country. This basically Romanian authorities did. They requested in a very polite way, of course, I think was super polite, to for requested Revolut to cover some compliance part on Romanian side. And this was done by Revolut because Revolut, they want to be on the Romanian market. They have quite a big share on the Romanian market. They are working on the B2B side, so they are working with businesses that are opening accounts in Revolut. So yeah, Revolut example with EMI license, electronic money institution license, is absolutely classical example of how you can run a business starting with a small license in a quite good jurisdiction and to passportize it. For example,
Okay.
and last, for example, Solaris Bank, now called Solaris, they acquired Contis. So at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
they had only German license. They then passportized their license in Belgium, France, Spain, Italy, and then they also purchased, they acquired Contis, And they, in just with a magic one, they just received two another license, UK, United Kingdom license and Lithuanian license. And basically, they are now working with two main European Union license from Lithuania and from Germany, and they somehow mix it in passportizing it.
Okay. So we have pretty good understanding between passportization and the licensing. But another angle, which is always like a question from my side, like we mentioned electronic money institution. And if I would want to start a digital bank, like something which is branchless, operates digitally, like I will go to MEI, but there is another possibility which still exists. Maybe it's a little bit like seen as old money, but it's full retail license. And like Revolut evolved through this process. Like initially they started in United Kingdom, then they got EMEA license in European Union. Quite fun enough, they achieved the full retail banking license in European Union faster than in United Kingdom. But like let's talk about that from the customer perspective. Like what is the difference if I'm opening or I'm working or I'm creating an account in MEI institution or the full retail banking license? Like from the legal perspective and compliance perspective, does it make any difference for me as a customer? Hard question.
No, it's easy, but I'm thinking right now to give you a comment or not. Okay, anyways. Revolut is not receiving full retail license or banking license in United Kingdom only because of some political reasons. That's it.
We're not discussing that. I'm asking
We're not
about the
discussing.
European Union. So we're putting it aside. It's a little bit too political. So the case that I'm talking, it's evolving in the European market from EMEI to full retail, which happened. And they have even another business entity, which is operating, if once again, I'm not mistaken, in Lithuania, they have another CEO who is not Nikolai, who is CEO for this company. They have full retail banking license. As a customer, let's say I'm from Germany, I don't know, or from Romania, as you said, like I'm opening an account. At some moment, the company evolved and it literally changed the license from MEI to retail. What is the difference for me as a customer? Then we will go into other aspects, but like doesn't make any difference for me as a customer.
Well, first, let's dig a little bit. Let's make a reverse step and think why a company needs a license. A company needs a license.
Yeah, cool.
A company needs a license because without a license you cannot work. Otherwise, it's prohibited activity. You can go to jail. Second, your activity needs to be regulated. And third, it's trustability. Trustability in the market, trustability for your customers. Okay, when Revolut appeared, I remember that my mother-in-law asked me one thing. If I will keep my 5,000 pounds or 2,000 pounds on Revolut, what will happen if this company will just disappear? What will happen to those money? So full banking license cover, beside a lot of good things and additional bonuses, it covers very important trustability thing. Your money are guaranteed by a specific regulator. So classical thing, if I'm going today to a bank and I'll put, I don't know, 100 euros in a bank account as a deposit, those money will be guaranteed by the national bank of the country where this bank is located. And in case if this bank will go down, it will give me possibility to somehow, after not a small period of time, but somehow to get those money back. This is the first and very important one. You have a guarantee that your money is safe. When you're a bank, oh, it's a totally different thing. In Balkan region, there is an expression, if to translate in English, it's a total different food to eat. So between the difference between a banking license and retail and the MEI license. Banking license means that you have to guarantee the money, the funds of the end user. Banking license giving you a possibility to build a lot of segregated accounts inside, to build different logics, to optimize your business models, to create new business models, because basically everything is in closed cycle. I mean, you're the acquirer, you're the bank, you're a card issuer, for example, account issuer. You can be the same time a service provider, payment service provider, or payment service gateway for you, for your customers, for your daughter companies, and so on. But banking license means a lot of money as investments because you need a core banking, you need a lot of softs, you need a lot of tools, you need a lot of people who will manage and work for making your bank, your license to be good. And it's much more riskier for the owners. Riskier because basically you can be, I mean, even with AMI license, you can be jailed in case of big, I don't know, money laundering or big
Non-compliant
mistakes,
processes.
not compliant processes, correct. I have to start to use more polite words than just so direct like money laundering. Anyways, when you are a bank director, bank owner, and board of directors, where you represent, you're the leader of a department in the bank, you have a full criminal liability and responsibility for the things that are done in your entity or in your department. This is why a banking license gives to people, a presence of a banking license gives to people a bigger trusting rate. It's simple.
Okay.
Revolut, I think Revolut or other like not N26, but other entities, they received the retail license, full retail license only because of trustability and scaling their operations.
Okay, I will add one small note because it's good to know the difference, like maybe not from the technical side, but at some level on the requirements from the regulator. When you're operating as electronic money institution, you actually cannot use those money of the customers. Let's say we have both accounts, Dumitru
Yeah.
and we have, I don't know, $30 on total on our accounts. Actually, the MEI cannot utilize those funds, and they should be sitting on the segregated account somewhere separately to not be mixed up with the business money, like operational stuff. And that's how the regulator is enforcing and making sure that the money are safe. And even if the business go bust, then those money from the segregated accounts should be returned to the customers back again. And actually, I have an experience running that because we've built dozens challenger bank, and actually it closed its operation with the B2C license, and they introduced the trust fund, which is operating this segregated account and giving money back to all those customers. So I would say there is a different perspective between full retail and EMEA because in both cases they have mechanism to give money back. But definitely you're right that the retail bank has more trustability from the customer perspective and from regulator perspective, which brings me another really good question. Wirecard. Because as I remember, they had a full retail license, but like maybe in this case, I will give a short introduction to our listeners. So quite a while ago, it was more than 10 years ago, there was a business in Germany which got the full retail banking license, and it was operating a lot of different financial instruments. Like they were providing payment gateway possibilities, they were issuing the cards, and actually the numbers were pretty high. They were expanding globally. They had an entity in United Kingdom in different regions, and then something happened, and they were running through the cycles of the auditors, external auditors from the Big Four, which were showing that everything is okay, the business is growing, investors are investing money. But at some point, this business went bankrupt, and there was legal issues with because they fairly missed 2 billion euros on their accounts, and the previous checks on audit didn't highlight that they had an issue, and they went busted really, really fast. But anyway, they had a full retail banking license. So how in the practice this helped the customers? Like, let's assume that they might be a MIA license or they full retail. Did it help in reality to their customers? Like, what do you think about that?
Wirecard just went kaboom for all the German fintechs. It was a nightmare for N26, Solaris Bank, our big fintechs or interesting fintechs from Germany are still today facing the consequences of Wirecard, what Wirecard did. I mean, what's the problem with Wirecard? Um, I don't know. Honestly, I think that the problem with Wirecard was uh, of some bad management somewhere in some structures. And unfortunately, mm, nobody can give you a guarantee as an end user that your money will be super safe, like 100% safe. Of course, in different marketing materials, you'll see that our bank or our financial institution is the best. We guarantee everything. We are ready to guarantee even with our kidneys. I don't know, joking. But I mean, 100% trustability, it's impossible, and you'll not see this anywhere. It's good that BaFin in Germany is a structure. It's a heavy structure, slowly moving, but in the same time, they can offer you a guarantee. You can offer you guarantees that your money sooner or later will be back, and you will at least will receive some compensations for this. I remember when I first read about Wirecard, I mean the situation that Wirecard was facing. My first question was not to Wirecard, my first question was to the auditors, inclusively auditors from BaFin, because they had control, they had some audits from BaFin, but never, don't trust anyone. All people lies. That's first. Second, instead of putting your money, classical thing, instead of putting your money in one single bank account, try to spread them, not to keep all the eggs in one single basket. Unfortunately, the 100% trustability rate is impossible to achieve. What you can do as a business is to keep as high as possible. So having a good license, build a strong reputation in the market. Reputation means a good feedback from the customers. Work with a bad feedback from your customers and try to build it. Success stories sometimes can appear from a bad feedback. And yeah, and it's very good to have what's important. What are the three pillars in a fintech company or bank? Fintech, technical team, finance team, and regulations.
That's true.
And it doesn't mean that if I said the technical team as a first part, it doesn't mean that it's have a primate of they are first and the most important. No, all of these three are like important. They are Latin, I think it's inter pares. So it's equal, all of these three pillars. So without a good P&L, profit and loss, a simple spreadsheet P&L can you give you a lot of information about the company. If you don't have this P&L, it's something is not going in a good way. Without a technical team, it's impossible to develop features. Without risk compliance, because sometimes I can wake up in the morning and say like, I want to develop this feature, I want to go on that market, I want to do this and this and this and this. And I have all the time very good team of risk compliance who say like, Dima, wait a second, don't run, because there's a problem, there's a problem, there's a problem, there's a problem. And then I going and try to solve my issues. Yeah, Wirecard is like
It's quite interesting case, and in this case, I suggest our listeners to go to Netflix because on the Netflix there is a mini series
really.
which are describing. Yeah, it's a really nice one. If I recall, it's like up to 1 hour with a really good description. It's a build-up story from UK journalists digging into the Wirecard and all the developments through the process. So I really recommend it. It's a good one, and it gives a lot of insights how the things are done and how this like really large scale company can go kaboom in several days and how everyone is struggling. And like by that time I was working with the dozens and we were like still developing the platform. We have been in production and for almost one business day we were disabled for the card issuing scheme because the company in Germany went down and the regulator in United Kingdom, they suspended for one business day the activities of Wirecard UK, not allowing us to process our cards of our customers. So just to understand an impact, in this case, something is going on in other region with other regulator, totally another business. but there is rains on the water, which might affect your business. So it should be kept in mind, like everything is quite interconnected and we're living in a global world. So it's a good case to learn. And I think we will add this information into our comments or into the description of this podcast, so you will be able to learn about this case. Okay, I think we have like maybe 5 more minutes. Maybe you would like to cover something as last question of our today's session. Do you have anything that you would like to highlight or to ask?
Well, I'm not sure I would like to ask something, except the fact that we every time we start a business, we need not to be, we need to understand that we need to dedicate a budget for people around us who will help us to build a strong compliance and to cover our legal part. So my strong advice, beside having a good, strong technical team, good product team, spend some more money on a good finance team and a good compliance team. Specifically, if you're going to you're planning to expand your business. I understand that at the beginning, this can sound a little bit expensive. Maybe you will not. It's not mandatory to have a compliance manager or officer full time. Just have someone with whom you can advise, who can give you a lot of insights. Engage with regulators. What I honestly like is that, for example, if you're engaging with regulators from North America, in the simple email chain, they can provide you a lot of responses and a lot of information. Yes, it will take a little bit of time, but you can get the information right from the source. Some regulators in European Union are doing the same. So don't be shy to go and ask the regulator directly.
Yeah.
Because first, you build a trustability with regulator. Of course, if you don't plan to make some things there and you want to stay a little bit, not under the spotlight, but I strongly advise everyone to have a wide business, but if you want to build a trustable business, go and speak with a regulator. Even if you sound dumb, the law impose them to respond to all your questions. Sooner or later, they'll come with a response. Of course, you have a legal team. So they also give you a lot of responses. Just don't be shy. Go and ask. Because I know people who started the business like, we will take care about the contracts, regulations like tomorrow or next week, next year. I need to build now the technical team. I need to build now the technical stack to build the features, product. We will solve it somehow. And in a year, they received the very big pushes from regulators, and the fines were so big. It was good that they had the money to pay those fines, but so go and speak with regulators. Sometimes in the website of the regulators, you can find so many information. You need the time and cautiousness and to be super calm to search all this information, because sometimes it's so hidden. But once again, don't be sloppy. Just go and ask.
Okay. It makes sense. In technical teams, we have a saying about backups, and maybe it can be rephrased for regulations. So in
Yes.
technical teams, there are two types of people: people who are doing backups and people who are already doing backups. So in this case, it's always good to start think and take actions in regulations, finding out, discussing, even if you don't have the money or you have a roadmap which is envisioning those steps later, it's always the time to discuss and talk with the professionals, either from regulator or from other like a private sector, how to achieve the functionality and business models that you're looking for, and how properly to get the license and what is the process. So it's a really good suggestion. And maybe as a last part, which we initiated like last episode, can you name us a book that you recommend to read? It might be not connected with the fintechs, because today I have another one, but maybe you have something that you would like to share with our listeners as a reference to the book.
No, I'll not recommend a book today.
Hmm.
Well, by the way, thank you for the advice with Adam Smith book. I had this book somewhere from my student student ages. I took it out and then started to read. Of course, not full book, but just some chapters that were super interesting. Thanks a lot for this. What I will recommend today is The same thing that I will do. I will go search on Netflix for the documentary you mentioned about the Wirecard.
Wirecard.
Yeah, I didn't saw it, but I strongly recommend it to see this because it can give you a lot of study cases. And I'm doing this because I'm planning to do this not today, tomorrow. I think I'll planning to do this. I also make some popcorn and I'll stay and watch. And I honestly recommend you to search on YouTube's. There's a huge amount of tutorials how to work with regulations. You'll be surprised, but exist channels on YouTube that show you and explain you how to work with the specific regulators. So I'm strongly recommending you now to take some digital contact and read or hear. What
Okay.
book you want to recommend today? I hope
Actually, it's
not something
fun.
classical.
It's not classical. I would say that will balance out the Adam Smith because like a 2 years or almost 3 years old book can be balanced with something pretty fresh. And it will be out of the fintech industry, but I think it influenced the world, which means influenced the industry. And I would like to recommend Bob Woodward, the book which is called War. And actually, it's a pretty cool one. And I think it's important, at least like a glance through this book, it's how the current wars are started. And we work in an environment where
Hmm.
we heavily dependent as a money, because money need the calm and predictable market. And when everything is developing with the Russia war in Ukraine, like the settlement, yesterday's settlement for the Israeli peace, everything influenced the markets, which means influence our business models and our startups and our performance on those markets. So I really recommend to read Bob Woodward, the book which is called War, because it gives a lot of insights how certain decisions are made in the United States, in cabinet and in the White House, how to settle those issues, how to communicate about those issues. And it's pretty fascinating, especially for me as a Ukrainian, to see how it was going there. And it gives really nice insights and overview about the processes. So really highly recommend. It can be bought online like for $2. So I think it's really great investment with a cup of coffee just to glance through and see how it works.
Yeah, thank you for your advice. I have to
Okay,
check this book too.
Okay, cool.
Noted.
Thank you. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate everyone joining us today. It was really a fruitful discussion, Dima, and I think we will continue to do so on the bi-weekly basis. So we are expecting you to join us in 2 weeks and continue to listen our discussions about challenges, development cases, and whatever is going on in fintechs. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you to all of the viewers and listeners. Igor, all the time it's a pleasure to speak with you. I think next discussions we have to organize in the way where you will speak more. So I think maybe like in 2 or 3 sessions we will switch to more technical topics. And to our listeners, if you are interested also in technical topics and you want us to develop some technical topics, just write in the comments or just ping somewhere else, like in Jesus, in WhatsApp or via email.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Have a great day.
Bye bye.
Bye.